Oh, Mrs. Cox, I remember you well. Anyway, hi YouTube. I'm Brick Smith, and this is Forever Snorting, Sorting with Kevin A. Hinkle, Episode 8, The Trip
Oh
to
my.
Connecticut. Oh my! And this is Kevin Hinkle. You're on the big screen. Kevin, say hello and tell this folks what we've been up to.
Not snorting, I
So
promise.
definitely sorting.
Sorting.
He was
Sorting.
playing with his sword collection earlier. That's yeah.
I was looking at all gold
Oh,
pieces.
gold. My process.
But thank you for joining us again for another episode of Forever Sorting.
Kevin?
I'm Kevin.
That is Kevin. Where can they find you, Kevin?
If you have an interest in following me online, I go by Mr. Kevin Hinkle on all social media platforms. If you have an interest in following just my artwork, Mr. Hinkle Draws is the username on all social platforms. And also, Forever Sorting has its own special account if you have any interest in following that at Forever Sorting. And just because I love social media accounts, I also own and operate a comic series called Bricks in the Middle just for Lego fans. So if you'd like to find that, bricksinthemiddle.com or BITM Comics on social media.
Or take a screenshot of my face.
There it is.
Oh. All right. Anyway. Oh yeah. No, they were looking at my face that time.
Okay, good.
Now it's
Good.
all you.
Wearable art.
There it is. Well, it's sweaty forehead. It's what it is. So Kevin, last time they joined us, and yes, folks, we're getting into it right now because you have waited a week and I have waited
The cliffhanger.
some time to get down and dirty into the trip.
The trip.
The trip to Connecticut. As we once left Kevin, he was acting store manager of the Colorado Mills store.
Right.
Ding Dong, the witch was gone, for lack of a better terminology for his former boss that he won't name. But
Nope.
she was gone. She was heinous. She was rude. She decided she would shop on the clock.
Yeah, that did happen.
Do all sorts of things. Wouldn't divulge information that was really important for everyone to have. All in all, she was not.
That's a thing, right? Like that's a common.
I feel like she had low moral fiber.
Well, I feel like in the terms of like poor management,
Yeah.
information hoarding seems to be like a common practice. Like, because you want to be the person that knows everything,
Right.
and so you don't share information out, which I think is just destructive. It just doesn't help.
Yeah, it just tears it down. It doesn't build it up. But and again, like I do like my term better than what Kevin's talking about, the low moral fiber that I got from oh brother, where art thou? So anyway, whatever, Kevin, I win.
It's fine. You win. You win this round.
Thank you. So Kevin, so we're headed. We are acting store manager. Kevin,
as we last left our hero.
Exactly what's happening right now. Yeah. He's headed toward Connecticut for interviews for the store manager position and to be representative of the store that he works at in Colorado for all of the store managers and Kevin to go to. And that's exciting.
It was so exciting. I mean, I had only done very little traveling before, and usually the places I travel to were by car, not really by plane. I've been on a plane before a couple times, but not many.
No.
And so somebody at corporate purchased a plane ticket for me. I did not purchase it. They also had booked my hotel. I had no idea where I was even going. I knew I was going to Connecticut, and I knew that Enfield, Connecticut was where the office was, and I didn't know where the airport was. I didn't know where the hotel was. I didn't know, but I also didn't need to really know because somebody else was arranging all that stuff for me.
So there was somebody at the airport with a sign that said, "Mr. Hinkle"?
No, that didn't happen. But I know.
Right?
No, that didn't happen. Unfortunately, I don't think there's maybe been twice in my life that somebody's been actually waiting at the airport for me.
Oh, I had somebody waiting at the airport for me, but it was.
It's nice. It's nice though. I mean, even if it's a friend or anybody, I'm more used to the drive-by pickups outside the outside. But so
the name drop before we goes on. The people that picked me up were Hoosier Bricks and Brick Jams in Philly last year. It was nice. They picked me up, and I instantly told them in Philadelphia in April to turn the AC on. I was hot.
I'm hot. Those are good people. Those are good people.
Yeah, good salt of the earth community members.
Some good salt of the earth community members. So I was really, needless to say, excited. I could not wait. I had no idea what awaited me. I had not really had much exposure to corporate. I didn't know how many people were there. I didn't know what was in the office. I just knew that I was going and I was representing our entire store and basically our entire state at this. And I also I knew that I was being judged by everything I was doing because I was told, I'm going, but there's going to be an interview. I had already applied for store manager. I didn't have it yet. I was acting store manager. And I was told that while I was here, there was going to be an interview with the big head honcho. And I was like, okay. So I took a nice shirt. I went and bought a nice dress, long sleeve shirt. I didn't have one, so I went and bought one. And I do have
You bought it.
I bought it. Yeah. Carry over from last time. Yeah. I have next time we do a photo album episode, I do have a really old picture of my first ever trip to Enfield, Connecticut in my fancy shirt, standing outside the building. Yes. And so, yeah, I didn't do any of the logistics. I didn't pay for any of the logistics. Someone did that for me. Someone arranged that for me. And tried to, dress nice. So here I go. I'm off. I'm leaving Denver. What's interesting to divert from Lego for a moment,
please do,
is when I left through the Denver International Airport, which is a major airport in Denver, there was a comic book shop in that airport. And I have been to many, many, many airports since then. And I don't ever recall seeing a comic book shop anywhere else except for the Denver airport. It kind of spoiled me. I was used to seeing it. So I would actively look for a comic shop and I'd have to settle for 2 racks in a bookstore. But that is the airport that I bought Superman Red Sun, which is my favorite comic of all time. So if anybody's a comic fan, if you like comic books,
we need to hear what your favorite is right now.
Superman Red Sun.
Put it right down there in the comments. Tell us what your favorite comic book is. And if it is the same as Kevin's, tell us why it's your favorite.
Nice. So it's a cool moment because that's when I got my favorite thing. And I've done, that's okay. That's okay. I give you a really quick
synopsis. It's all about you, Kevin. It's what you love.
So I think the story is brilliant. What it is, we all know Superman was a little baby. He crash landed in a rocket on Earth, right? Krypton was being blown up. This spoiler alert, Darth Vader is Luke's father. So the whole story takes place about 10 hours later than when it would have happened. So the rocket ship with Superman crashes in the middle of Moscow instead of Kansas. All right, there it is. Good. And that's it. That's all. So I think the story is brilliantly written because Superman is. It really makes you think about who the character of Superman is, right? He landed in America, so he has these American values, and he was born in a land of freedom, and all these things that you kind of just, as Americans, we kind of take it for granted because this is just how we are. But in that storyline, he's a Soviet Russian. And so it doesn't mean, again, that he's evil. It's just he has a totally different upbringing into what he thinks is right and what's wrong. And so the whole book is about that. It's about Russian Superman. Wow. And I think it's so amazing. But all the characters are in there. So you'll see Wonder Woman at one point. You'll see Batman is really cool in that storyline. There's Batman and there's also the Batmen in that story.
Like Batman?
Yeah, multiple Batmen. And there's Bizarro and Lex Luthor and all that. But so that happened at that my trip. I got Superman Red Sun at that airport.
That's beautiful.
So I flew out, and because this is a conference for all the store managers, and this was the world. So this was all. So there were managers flying in from Germany, from Denmark, from any. I mean, there wasn't a lot, but from the countries that also had Lego stores.
So this was 2008. How many Lego stores were in existence in 2008, Kevin?
In 2008, there was probably.
Was there growth?
I think
at 22 when you started.
Yeah, I think at that time we had opened 2 stores. First Lego stores that had opened in after a sane period of not opening stores. Those were the first 2 stores, and I think they had opened at that time. I'm pretty sure they had.
Okay.
So there was only 2. So that means that there was about 20, probably 28, maybe 30.
Okay.
Because there was also, I think, a couple that opened in Europe as well. So they flew over as well, which was kind of cool to have these European store managers here also. But every store manager, everybody was coming together, and we were all going to Connecticut, and we landed in like batches. They're like batches of store managers, and so one person would be kind of in charge of renting a car or a van, and they would drive everybody else. So I was. Everyone had known to expect me. Because they were like, oh, well, there's no store manager for Colorado Mills, so there's going to be some. Right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. I was like this little kid compared to everybody. I really was.
Child.
And again, no age discrimination, but I was definitely like 10 to 15 to 20 years younger than everybody else.
Nice.
So I mean, these were all middle-aged, 40, 50, 60-year-old people, and
career men. These were career men, gentlemen in their career.
Yes, men and women well into this journey. Where I'm on this, I am a college kid who's about to graduate. However old I was, I don't even remember. So
you're 12.
I was 12 and a half. So I was expected because I was this kid from Colorado. But also it was kind of weird because, like I mentioned in the last episode, there was this kind of fondness for my predecessor amongst the other store managers. Yeah, they all liked her quite a bit. And so that was kind of weird because we had lots of awkward conversations throughout the course of the conference, which was about 2.5, 3 days. Yeah. We're like, oh, you guys must miss her so much over there.
Oh, you have no idea.
And I played the game, I was like, yeah, we're all finding a way to move on. And of course,
her grave. No.
It was just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And so, but that was happening a lot of kind of awkward conversations about that. And a lot of people wanting to talk about how much they were going to miss her, and they missed her personality. Cause I guess she was this big socialite at these things. And so, right. We all know somebody.
Bricksmith putting on a cape at Philly.
Yeah. We all know. So I got there. The hotel was booked in Springfield, Massachusetts, which is not far away, but it is not in Connecticut. No. It's right across the border. So infield, if you don't know your geography, if you look at the state of Connecticut, which is a little square with a little phalange, a little finger.
Go ahead, show us the map, Kevin.
Let me see.
You're going to call us out on geography,
right? Let me get a Connecticut map up real quick. Stand by.
Oh, we're good. We like staring at your glasses. We can see what you're working on. The reflection.
Awesome. All right, let me.
You want me to put myself on the big screen while you pull up that?
Yeah. Go ahead and do that. Okay. I'm sharing my screen now. You can switch it.
There we go.
So here's the state of Connecticut. It's a square, a little shoreline with this little thing here, little phalange. This also up here, see this little notch?
Uh-huh.
That's got a funny story. We'll talk about that one day.
I love to hear that
story. But here, look at that. Right there's Enfield. See that?
Yeah.
So it's right at the top of the state, and see Springfield's right here.
Yeah.
So see,
they're very large.
They are right next to each other. And if you ever wanted to know, I currently live somewhere. It's not even listed on here. It's like somewhere right around here is like where I live. The town is not listed on this map. It's a very, very, very small town. But
I got to cut you off real quick. How long does it take you to get from Springfield to New Haven?
Okay, so from my house, which I mentioned is here,
right,
it takes me 1 hour to get to New Haven. That's 1 hour right there. Wow. So it'd be about an hour and a half, I guess.
You got to be kidding me. Let me just explain this to you folks. Okay, and I'm not pulling up no maps. I live in Tallahassee, Florida. My friend Jamie, Brick Jams, he lives in Lynn Haven, Florida. It is 100 miles in 2 hours. 2 hours, folks. Yeah. I live there in the armpit right there.
Oh, that's not a good map. Here's a good map.
Not a good map. There we go.
It's all tiny.
What did you do?
There he is.
Oh Lord.
Where are you? You're up here somewhere?
I'm Tallahassee and he's Panama City.
Where's Panama City?
It's right there to your left.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, halfway. Yeah.
So how far is this?
2 hours. That's 100 miles.
That's great.
And Tallahassee to Jacksonville's 2.5 hours.
You know what's great about this is I have a special appreciation for this being a native Texan. That of distance and driving and how long it takes. But yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing.
9 hours to get to one. Put it that way. He's in Miami. It takes us 9 hours.
Yeah. But it's really great when people hear like, oh, that's like 30 minutes away, and I'm like, what?
Your state is 30 minutes away.
Yeah, because I think like just being in the city of Austin, trying to drive from one part of the city to the other part of the city is like an hour, 2 hours.
It takes 30 minutes to get from one side of Tallahassee to the other.
Yeah,
during rush hour.
And just 30 minutes for me, I could drive through. I can't tell you how many cities I'll drive through in 30 minutes. So, as you can see, Springfield very close to Enfield. It's at the top of the state. If you were ever curious, definitely like in farm country, like that. We're up here with like the tobacco farms and the corn farms.
I saw Joey's video.
Tobacco, lots of tobacco.
Tobacco.
So we landed. I got to meet the other Kevin, who's store manager of the Mall of America. He still is to this day. He's an awesome guy. We're still friends. We don't speak very often, but we're friends. And he was the driver. So I remember I was assigned to his group. Like and of course he had other managers too, but he had this big old cargo van, and he picked us all up and drove us to the hotel. And that's when we had kind of our first meet and greet mixer kind of thing where all the managers were schmoozing. And this was at the hotel in Springfield on like the rooftop, like they rented like a terrace or whatever. And we were up there, and I personally, like I was desperate to talk to other people and learn what they do in their stores. I'm like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Because I mean, I had no communication with other Lego stores at all.
And you were an outlet on top of that still.
And I was an outlet. I was like, where are the other outlets? So like I was really, and what was interesting, you know, again, for a number of reasons, age was definitely a reason. But a lot of people did not want to talk about work at all. Like most of them had zero interest in talking about work. They wanted to talk about sports. They wanted to talk about their local economy. They wanted to talk about politics and stuff. And I was like, no, I want to talk about your store and how many staff members do you have? And like, I really wanted to network. And there was a couple people that were willing to have those conversations with me, but not many. Yeah. Most of them were just interested in wanting to know what I thought about my manager leaving, if we were going to be able to cope with her loss. I was like, I think we'll be all right. Or they wanted to ask questions about me personally. And then a lot of them also didn't necessarily know I was acting. Oh. They just thought I had taken over. And they knew that I was young, and they knew that I was like this noob coming in, but they didn't necessarily know I was there to have an interview and that I was on this like probation period. So when a lot of them found that out, they actually gave me a lot of advice. Sure. And so when I was there through the course of these multiple days, I was getting a lot of kind of advice from other people about what should I say, what should I do, which was really cool. So the way the whole conference was laid out is they rented some conference rooms at the hotel we were staying at.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. And again, you in retrospect, you kind of question these moves like the corporate office is right there. Why are we spending more money renting this? Okay, whatever. No comment. But we were not at the office. We did not meet at the Lego office. We actually, that first visit, the whole like time I was there for those 3 days or whatever, we went to the office one time. And that was only to do a visit to the Lego employee store. That was just kind of part of the schedule. Was we'll let you guys go see. I mean, of course, I didn't know there was an employee store. It was like, oh wow, but this was it was kind of an interesting thing because I remember when I went there, there's like 2 buildings. There used to be many more, but there was 2 main buildings. There was a smaller one called the Compass House, and a larger one called the Brick House. But the Brick House wasn't at that time even named the Brick House. It was just an abandoned building that had the company store and cafeteria in it, because that used to be where the molding and manufacturing was when it was here in the United States. Wow. So it was now totally like gutted. And I remember when we were there for our quick visit I think we had lunch and we went to the store. That's what we were there for. I went and I looked because it was wide open. I mean, this is an old, manufacturer, and there's like caution tape, and you can just see, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of square feet or thousands all the way down. Wow. Of just empty, kind of dusty and dingy and like random, not really any equipment because there's no equipment left, but like it looked like an abandoned warehouse. Nice. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy. It doesn't at all look like that now. It's been totally remodeled into office space and cubicles and things like that. But I remember that first look, just kind of like, that's weird. So it was in a hotel conference room. That's where we spent all of our time. And, it was kind of as you would expect a retail conference to be. There was a schedule laid out. There was like inspirational talks by people from different areas of the company. None of them were at that conference were like super, super notable. Like, the owner didn't come talk to us or anything like that. It was like, oh, so-and-so from marketing, so-and-so from, the customer service is going to come to, but it was kind of cool. It was different. I was like, wow. I probably was sitting up front with like bright eyes and like loving every minute of it. And everyone else is just like, yep, it's another conference. But I mean, I thought it was funny. Well, and
I'll be honest with you, Kevin. From what I know of you already, you may have sat up there with your bright eyes and excited, and everybody else was sitting there. But the way you take on, Kevin, you take on the most mundane tasks with the vim and vigor of I'm going to complete this to the utmost of my ability, and I will do the best job picking up this dog food that I ever can.
I'm going to tell you a joke as I do it too.
That's it. And the story.
That I try to, you know me too well.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but I remember, kind of meeting a couple different people, including somebody that I would later replace later on in my story, because I remember that was the time I met the store manager of the Chandler, Arizona store. And he struck a weird chord with me. He was kind of odd. I can't really place it. He was definitely a nerd. Like, and I mean that in a loving, endearing way. Like, he was a hardcore Star Wars nerd, and he wanted to talk about Star Wars. I noticed that I sat next to him one of the times, and he was writing a lot of weird stuff, like in his notebook, like, so-and-so lady looks weird, and like just like weird notes, like not notes that are like irrelevant, like, you know what I mean, like high school notes. Nice. And I'm like, that's weird. This is a store manager. I digress. But, we heard from different people. Here's another super important part of the story that I would have never known this would have impacted me later on, was we had somebody from the community team come talk to us.
Really?
I didn't know what the community team was. I didn't know there was one. But we had a gentleman by the name of Steve Witt come and just do a Q&A. It was just Q&A about Lego fans. And it wasn't particularly like memorable. It wasn't like super crazy, like notable, like, oh wow, that was the best. It was really just a Q&A. He was like, hi, they asked me to come talk to you guys about Lego fans. Right. Do you have any questions? And most of the questions from the group were about things that I had no clue about. Like, I remember the Virginia managers, because there was 2. they were really, really interested in talking about Brick Fair. And then I was like, what is Brick Fair? Like, I had no clue. And of course I didn't for many years after that either. But they wanted to talk about that. The Seattle managers wanted to talk about BrickCon. They were talking about somebody eventually said lug, and I was like, oh, I have a lug. We have cow lug. We have a lug. Because I've been exposed to the community and to lugs and stuff, but like the broader community, no. Right. Like I was still kind of in this like Colorado bubble of what's a Lego fan and what's a lug and what's a show. Like I like a show, you go to the mall and you show your stuff off, not cons that like are in an expo center and stuff like that. So
I'm telling you, and just to cut off Kevin for a second, folks, I just want to let you know, find a local one. If you've never been to a con, find a local one, go.
You won't regret it.
Find a big one, travel, take a vacation, take the week, go to one of the big boys. I recommend it. I have a home show. Kevin has a home show. They're not the same home show, but they're great shows for their own shows. So what do you know, Kev?
Well, you won't regret it. You won't regret it. It's good advice. So yeah, I mean, it was only an hour, and I was like, wow, that's kind of interesting. I didn't really realize that was a part of the business that somebody managed. And so, I mean, again, I would not know that was going to be a part of my life at some point. But it was a part of the programming. I remember that they showed us kind of what the holiday look was going to be for the store, like the decorations and the windows and stuff like that. I remember I asked a lot of really stupid questions. I remember that.
And a lot. Did folks laugh a lot?
They did. And it's because, this is when I was learning how much information was kept from us, from our store manager, because I just didn't know a lot of like basic things. And I'm asking for clarification, and people are like, why do you not know that? And again, I didn't want to throw my boss under the bus with all these people that liked her. And I'm like, no. And I'm just like, oh, I just didn't know. And I'm like, okay, well, so a lot of stupid questions were asked.
I'm sure Kevin, some of them caught on.
Probably.
Because I mean, especially after you continued up the ladder of Lego, they're like, why the hell did he know?
Yeah, you start putting two and two together at some point. But a lot of stupid questions were asked, but nonetheless, I did what I could and asked things. And I mean, we did all kinds of stuff at that very, very first meeting that I was just like, wow, so this is what we do. They also did like social things every night. I mean, from my perspective, a lot of money went into this. I mean, there was like catering for all meals for all the different days.
Wow.
We didn't spend any money for any of this stuff. Of course, there was meetings all day long. Like you'd have a talk here, workshop, inspirational speaker. And then in the evening, all 3 days, it was something like, oh, we're all going to go sledding. Like I remember there was a day that we all took like a bus, like a Peter Pan bus or whatever, up to, it had to be New Hampshire or Vermont, because I remember it was a long drive and there was snow. And now that I live here in New England, I'm like, it had to be New Hampshire or Vermont. I couldn't even tell you where we went when I did that trip because I have no idea. But I remember sitting in a bus for hours, and it takes about 3 hours for me to drive to New Hampshire. And I got out and there was snow. And I'm like, and then we did like snow sledding and stuff. I did not, because I was car sick. Because I gotten car sick since I was a little boy.
Oh.
And if I'm not driving, I still will get car sick, especially if I sit in like a bus or something, because I can't see the front. I can only see outside.
So when we went to the Discovery Center, you were sick?
I was starting to get car sick.
Why didn't you just ride with us?
That's fine. I don't like to be a burden.
How about you drive?
I have never, like, I am always 100% perfect if I drive. Like, it's not a thing but yeah, when we were taking the bus to the Discovery Center, I was like, oh, I'm starting to feel sick, just because buses are the worst. Like, that's the worst is buses. But especially if I'm actually trying to enjoy myself by talking to people and stuff. Like, if I can sit on a bus and position myself where I can kind of see where the bus driver is driving, like not outside, like I'll be fine. Oh, like if I just sit there and I watch, but if I like sit and like have a conversation with you while everything's moving, no, not going to happen.
Yeah. Terrible, man.
Yeah, and it's ever since I was a little kid. I mean, and my kids both have it too. Like if we go on a long car trip that's like a couple hours long, they will get car sick, and it will happen. So when we did this, I mean, I enjoyed the bus ride because I had a lot of conversations with managers about stuff. But I was like, I am gonna vomit by the time we get to this wherever we're going. And we did, and I don't think I vomited, but I just kept saying no, thanks, I'm okay, because they were doing like sledding, and so I was like, no, that's all right.
Why you should have just stayed in that night? You should have just stayed.
And there was always a thing, is they said if you don't want to do the social thing, you could just go to the hotel room. But I was like, man, I'm trying to make an impression with everybody and get this job, and
vomit or no vomit, I'm going.
I'm doing it. So I did. And so what was interesting is I was not given a time or a place for this interview was going to happen. I was just told it was going to happen. And I'm sitting there, and as the days are going, I'm like, it's not happening. I don't know when it's happening, but we're running out of daylight. And like I said, we did go to the office. That was cool. We went to the employee store, which was also kind of neat. The one thing I thought was super cool about the employee store is it looked just like our store. And I learned that the company store, which has sadly been underfunded for many, many, many years, because I think they just down prioritize it because it's for the staff only. So like, they don't need anything. So they don't. This employee store in Enfield, which is still there, doesn't get like its own shelving or its own decor. Like it gets hand-me-downs. That's what it gets. And so when I was asking them, they had gotten the old hand-me-downs from the outlets from when I don't even know when we were not a hand-me-down ourselves. So you can imagine how old their stuff must have been. But they had the same shelving. They had the same, like the yellow bullnose metal shelving. They had the black, like, grid system to hook. I was like, this looks just like our store. And I remember a lot of the other managers were kind of surprised at that. I was like, this looks just like ours. Like, what are you talking about? This looks nothing like our store. I was like, no, it looks like my store. And of course, the other outlets got it. They're like, yeah, it's us. I
should have shirts that said like outlet on it or something.
Yeah. I remember I didn't really buy much of anything.
Yeah.
I bought a couple like Lego branded, I think a polo or two. I think I bought a lanyard that I didn't need. Right. And I mean, the prices were good. So this is also when I learned, when I went to corporate, that first time that the corporate employees got 50% off of their Lego purchases. We in retail only got 30% off of our purchases. Now, I told you this before, like we had the whole 50 off day.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any better. I thought that was all employees had that. And when I went to corporate, I realized that was a mistake. Only retail employees get the lesser discount. And so I was like, wow, so you get 50% off all the time. And of course the funny thing is the store employees were like, yeah, don't you get the same? Like, no, we don't. That has been fixed since then, but that's at the time that was, so I was like, man, there's a lot of good stuff. They also had a lot of funky things, like things that were weird, like promo stuff that I would never see anywhere else, and like stuff from truck tours and things like that. I'm like, wow, this is some good stuff. But I'm a college kid. I don't have a lot of money. I didn't have any money. I remember one of the California managers made fun of me because he said, Kevin, this is all you're buying? Like I had like this little bag. I mean, people were leaving out there with like, bags upon bags full. These store managers are leaving. A lot of them said, oh, I'm buying a lot of stuff for my staff. I'm like, half of you are probably lying and half of you are probably telling the truth. Yeah. But this California manager, he made fun of me because he said, that's all you're buying? And I said, yeah, I don't have enough money to really buy a lot of stuff before I go home. He goes, why don't you just charge it? I was like, I don't have a credit card. And he would not let it go. Like, he thought it was so funny that I didn't, because I really didn't. I had a debit card. Right. That's what I had. And at the time, I didn't have a credit card. He was like, you don't have a credit card? And I was like, no. And he just like, it was a reoccurring joke for the remainder of the, he's like, well, you can ask Hinkle. He didn't even have a credit card. I was like, all right, well, okay.
Oh, bro.
Do you even credit? So, I mean, I have credit cards now, but
I do not.
Well, hey, that's okay. I'm not going to make fun of you for it.
No, well, I follow Dave Ramsey as best I can.
Very nice.
He's a financial advisor that says don't have credit cards.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely don't have any.
They can be dangerous. Use them responsibly.
I'm still breathing. Yeah, when I had them, I was terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, yeah, didn't really buy much. We didn't really have a tour. There wasn't really a tour because they don't really expect this to be a thing. Like, they don't treat it like it's a thing. It's just, it's work. You're here. So there wasn't really a tour. Like I said, there was a small building, and I think we went in there for a walk around the product showroom, if I'm not mistaken. So the smaller building, the Compass House, that's where the product showroom is, where they put all the stuff from next year in that room.
Nice.
And they do a good job with it. They make it look all nice because that room is really not for Lego employees. It's for executives from Walmart, the executives from Target. It's for these, really high-ranking, suit-wearing people that come in and go, oh yeah, we'll take $250,000 of those. We'll take $500,000 of those. Like it's for showing off what do you want to sell as a retailer. But they do a good job. They have like the fancy plexi stands to make things look like it's in action. They have, it's kind of like what you see at a toy fair, but in a nice setting. So I remember we went in there, we looked at that, we left. We did the lunch. We did, and the lunch I thought was kind of awesome. So I mean, this is cafeteria, right? You get a tray, you go down, you take your food, and this was the old cafeteria. It got remodeled many years later, but it was kind of it looked dated. It looked dated, but it was like it used to be a warehouse cafeteria. So they were used to warehouse employees or manufacturing employees just by the hundreds going through. And they had, in my imagination, or I'm pretty sure they had everything I could think of. Right. So they had burgers, they had hot dogs, they had pretzels, they had salads, they had fish, they had baked potatoes, they had fries, onion rings. I mean, it was just like everything was already pre-cooked too. So you would just kind of take kind of like when you go to a theme park, I guess, and you just take what you want and you go out. Later on in this story, like I guess 2 years from now, when we're still talking, that cafeteria got totally remodeled. But the other thing that they had in the old one that they never put in the new one, which I thought was a shame, is all the signs were built out of Lego bricks. I thought that was so cool. So like the sandwich station had like a brick built sandwich, and it had like lettering that said sandwiches, and like the burger bar had like a brick built burger. And all the little signs in the front, like the paper they would switch out would be like Lego bricks with a card in it. All that stuff they didn't bring into the new cafe when they redid it, which I thought was weird. It was like, why not?
You're Lego.
Yeah. So that was that visit. I mean, it changed my perspective in life on a lot of things. It was great. I took photos, but like I said, it wasn't very immersive in terms of corporate. We went back to the hotel, and that's really where most of the conference was at this hotel, in the conference rooms there in Springfield, Massachusetts. And we got to the very last day. It was the last day. We were like down into like the last 4 hours before there was a kind of like a goodbye dinner. And everyone goes back home the next morning, and I'm like, I haven't had an interview. I haven't had anything. I'm like, what's going on? I still don't even know if they're supposed, I assume. And I got to like the last, this was like, we were at the dinner. We were at the final dinner where everybody's like socializing, and enjoying themselves and, recounting the couple days and what we've learned and what messages are we taking back to the stores and all this stuff. And the district manager, because all the district managers were there too, he came and he goes, hey, do you want to step out in the lobby? We'll have a conversation. It's like, finally. I was like, yes, we should. And so he pulled me out. He went out to the lobby, a little bit more private. And we sat down. And he's like, so, tell me, what have you thought of these last couple of days? Like, and I was like, this, and I treated it like an interview. I was like, oh, it's been totally life-changing. And I don't even remember what I said, but I said the truth, whatever it was.
Right.
And he goes, so, you've had a lot of great conversations with people, and I've actually been talking to everybody about you for these last couple of days. I'm like, oh, I did not realize that. But like he had been, going, I guess, behind me and talking to these people as they've been, talking to him about me and all that kind of stuff. And during one of the meals, I did sit next to the retail director. But it was a very casual, and it wasn't just me and him. It was like multiple people. Right. And he asked questions. I asked questions. We chit-chatted. He wasn't there for very long. He left. Apparently that was not like coincidental. I guess that was his interview with me.
Wow.
I would have never told you that it was because I didn't. It lasted probably 20 minutes, I guess.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting there, and the district manager, my boss, he's like, we talk about the event, we talk about the trip and everything, and he told me he's been talking to other people about what they think. He's like, people are pretty impressed with you. They're pretty impressed with you. They think you're pretty sharp. And also, and again, names are withheld. He's like, you sat with the director. He thought he got a pretty good read on you as well. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that we. Okay, all righty. And he goes, and I've also spoken to your old manager. And I'm like, okay, great, because she said she was going to give me that recommend. I mean, in my mind, I'm like, it's done. He goes, but and I heard that but, and I'm like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Here it is. And I mean, we're sitting in this hotel lobby. I'm in Springfield, Massachusetts, representing my store, acting store manager. He goes, but I don't know if you're ready. And I was like, well, okay. And I mean, and I pushed back a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, I'm not confident in myself enough to be like fighting the fight. Right. I'm like, okay. He goes, so I'm gonna tell you this. We're gonna keep you right now as an acting store manager. That's not gonna change. So,
okay.
Okay. He goes, but we're gonna keep the job listing up. So we're gonna keep accepting applications from people that are interested. I was like, okay. So he goes, so you don't know. Maybe in another couple months, maybe we will make you the store manager. But I want to keep getting applications just to see.
All right.
I want to see, what's coming in. So I'll be visiting your store kind of often because I'll be doing interviews for store manager in your store.
Yeah, that's lovely.
And I'm like, okay. He goes, but I have an offer for you. And I said, okay. He goes, since we're asking a little bit more from you now, instead of, just, kind of running things for a couple of weeks, because I think it was only like maybe a month at max that I had been doing this. He goes, I want to promote you to an assistant manager. And I remember, so I was currently, all right, let me say this. In terms of the system,
right,
I was still a supervisor. I wasn't changed to any, I was just in spoken word. I was acting store manager.
Right.
But I was a supervisor by every account. And so he said they wanted to send me back to the store to keep doing what I was doing as a acting store manager. But in the system, they wanted to promote me to an assistant manager. And I remember my response to him was, what's assistant manager? I had never heard of this. I mean, we didn't have that role. I remember saying that to him, and he laughed. And he's like, it's not quite a store manager. I was like, yeah, but okay, never mind. Because I'd never heard of it.
Right, you guys didn't have one.
And so he goes, so we're going to promote you to assistant manager. That means you're going to go to salary. And I was like, I mean, to me, I had one anyway.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, okay. So I'm not store manager, but I'm still in charge. And I'm now going to go back as an assistant manager. And I'm going to be moved to salary. And my salary at that time, and I know for a fact these numbers have changed, but at the time, I was offered $33,000 a year.
Okay.
As a salary as an assistant manager. And I know that's not how it is today. I know it because I have friends that are assistant managers and they don't make that. They don't make. They're not anywhere that low. But
we're also talking a decade ago.
That's true. So it was $33,000 a year salary to be an assistant manager. And he's like, so we'd like to offer you that. But he goes, but still, in a couple months, you could be a store manager. We like, and I go, all right. So it was kind of cool because I went back to my table, and again, this is like that last dinner, and they're like, so what was that about? And I was like, I just got promoted to assistant manager, and like all the other store managers were like, hey, good job, kid. Like they acted like they'd known me, and I just met these people like 2 days ago.
Yes.
So they were all happy. They made a little announcement during the fight. They were like, and just we're sending Kevin back as an assistant manager. And I was like, yay. And so I was so excited. And I remember I got back, and I mean, of course, I called home and I did all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, like I said, I had won. I got promoted. A promotion. So I that last one, I considered it a victory.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have too.
I got a promotion. I got a raise. And I thought also, I said, and you know what? I'm going to get store manager. I just have to hold out a little bit longer.
Happen.
And I said, I really need to show them, you know, what I can do.
Lock it in.
So I went back from my trip, and the staff were happy. Sure. They were like, yeah, you know, Kevin, you made it. And I was like, yeah.
Start.
Exactly. And so I said, it was kind of cool. I left as supervisor and I came back an assistant manager. And to me, I was like, and I was the first assistant manager this store has ever had. I found out, again, years after the fact, that my old manager who had left, when she came into the store, she was an assistant manager.
What?
But then after she moved up, when that other guy left, they never backfilled that role. Because, again, this was a time when Lego was making no money.
Yeah.
And so that location in particular was told, we can't afford to have an assistant manager there. So you need to just kind of make do without. So it had had an assistant manager once before.
Okay.
And she was it. And so forever, I mean, I was like saying, I'm the first assistant manager ever to be in that. But I mean, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But I thought that I was.
We'll let you slide since you weren't actually officially trying to lie.
I wasn't. I was not intentionally trying to lie. So yeah, I came back, and I mean, then my mission was time to prove I can be a store manager. And you know, I have to say that there was a lot of interviews happening, and that did make me nervous because I'm sitting here and I'm running the store. I'm still doing my job. But at the same time, the district manager was probably in our store maybe every other week. And he lived in Minnesota. So, I mean, he was flying in from Denver like every other week, and he would line up like interviews all day. So I'm sitting here, and it's kind of weird, you know, like watching these people come in, and I'm like, man, one of these people could be my boss. But I'm gonna keep doing it. And you know, and I kept doing.
That's not how it works, Kevin. This is the story. This is the storybook ending. You gotta tell us that. You gotta tell us. Of course, you got it.
Right.
And
so I kept doing what I know how to do, and I was doing my job again.
Grinding.
Morale was high. Everyone was happy, but there was still some uncertainty in the air. People didn't know what was going to happen because these interviews were still going on, and stuff like that. Sales were fine. Service was fine. There was no notable reasons that I should not be given the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And then I had a call from my boss, and he told me you need to take vacation. And I said, okay. I mean, I never had vacation before. I never had paid vacation. But he said, you know, we've moved you into salary, and you get 1 week of paid vacation. And because we're about to go into holiday, because this was kind of fallish time, we're about to go into holiday, so it would be really good if you could take a week of vacation now. That way we can have you for the. And I was like, okay. And again, I'm new to this. I don't know when I'm supposed to take vacation. I don't know any of that stuff. So I said, okay. I really didn't want to. I was like, all right. So I took a week of vacation, and it was really weird. So 1 week off, and my boss started coordinating with my used to be former co-supervisor, who's still there, and he's supervisor, and we're really close. We're fine, but he starts coordinating with him because he was going to be in the store the week I was out.
Sure.
And so he starts talking to him about like, I'm going to be here this day, and I'm like, this is so weird because he's like totally excluding me from this conversation. But I was like, but I'm on vacation, so I guess that's why he's doing it. But like he was like going, I'm going to be here on this day at this time, and we're going to do an interview here. And just, I don't know. I had a weird feeling. I'm like, why? It's like, seems like he's going out of his way to not include me. Like, I remember he even called the store, and he's like, hey, could I speak to Rob? I'm like, this is weird. Like, okay, here you go. And Rob, of course, was telling me everything. He's like, yeah, he's doing that. It's kind of weird. I'm like, why is he telling you and not me? He's like, I don't know. So I had a weird feeling from the beginning. And so I went on vacation for a week. The whole time I was nervous as none other because I'm not in my store that I'm supposed to be kind of in a probation period running to prove that I could be a store manager. While he's there, I'm like, this is the worst case scenario. And he was doing interviews. Right. So what I didn't know, what I learned through Rob, is that there was something different about these interviews than the first. These were second round interviews.
Oh.
So these were like, these people have already done good. And they're now going, and he had told Rob that he was pretty confident he was going to offer it to one of these people and not me. And so, of course, he didn't want to tell me this. Yeah. And he also didn't want me to, he wanted me to be gone so that like I wouldn't be watching this happen. And so that also when he physically gave this person the offer to be in charge, I didn't have to see it happen. Wow. Or potentially see it happen, and that also that I don't freak out. And so this all happened. So the day I came back after being gone for a week, I kind of knew what was going on, but I have to kind of act like I don't know what's going on because I also don't want to get Rob in any kind of trouble for telling me things he's not supposed to tell me. And so
the manager shouldn't have put Rob in that position.
Yeah, no.
Period.
No, and this is the district manager.
Come on, do better, Lego.
Do better.
Come on, Lego.
Stuff like this, stuff like this still happens today.
Stay in your lane, Lego. Come on.
But so my first day back, I've been off for a week. It's Monday morning, and I'm sitting there doing payroll. That's like usually the first thing you do on Monday is fix all the payroll so that the staff can get paid. And I get a phone call. It's from my boss. He's gone. He left to go back to Minnesota. And he calls me on the phone, asks me, how was vacation? How did it go? And I'm like, good. And I was like, how did the interviews go? And he goes, you know what? Really good. We're going to make the offer to somebody else. And I said, okay.
Hold on. Give me 1 second, Kevin. Don't go on. Let me do this real quick. I hope I don't screw this up. This is would you say it made you feel like this?
It did.
I imagine so.
It did. I mean, I was sitting, like I was, on the phone in the back, and I'm, your demeanor reflects how you. I mean, I'm my chest is out. I'm kind of like, trying to talk to him, with authority. And as soon as he said, like, we're gonna make the offer to someone else, I was just like, and I just kind of like fell in the chair. I was like, oh, all right, okay. Bye. Because he didn't say it, like he didn't use his words to say you didn't do good enough for giving it to someone else, but just the fact that it was being offered. I said, I clearly have failed the test to show you that I can run this store. And this duration, this whole duration of me by myself running it was about 4 months.
Yeah.
So for 4 months, I ran the store as an for about a month as a supervisor acting store manager, and then the rest of them as an assistant manager acting store manager.
Yeah.
And I did everything. I did it all. Yeah. And so, I was sad. I was sad about it, but it is what it is. And so they decided to offer the role to Eric. And we already saw a picture of Eric because he was the guy holding the big receipt, right? In the cargo van.
Yep.
And so Eric was hired. Now, what's interesting, I didn't find this out until many years later. But the entire reason why I was not given that job is because my former boss specifically told him not to give me the store manager job. So she told him, and he told me this, like, because eventually it gets to a point where it doesn't matter, and I've switched districts multiple times, and I moved up and up and up and up, and so like eventually he just told me, because he said that he didn't know why he believed her but she had told him that I could not be trusted with that kind of responsibility, that I shouldn't be a store manager, and that I would have a tendency to emotionally overreact because I would get mad at her when she did stupid things. And did I handle it the best way every time? No. I mean, I probably spoke out of turn a couple of times and said, but I didn't like what things she was doing. Exactly. And so she told him that I would, emotionally have freakouts or whatever. But it's like, yeah, but you didn't tell him why I'm emotionally freaking out. But so he specifically didn't give me the job totally based on her recommendation not to give it to me.
And you know what? As a human, his responsibility should have been, Kevin, I'm making you the assistant manager. We're going to hire for the store manager. Continue to run the store until we get a person in place for that. And maybe someday we can give you the position. But
that'd be nice.
That honesty. What? Do better, Lego. Do better.
And that's the thing, is that, I mean, there was two kind of players in that chapter. There was my old boss who lied to me to get me to work harder while she was on her way out. Right. Is, do this because I'll put in a good word for you. Do this because I'll put in a good word. And she said that constantly. Do this because I'll put in that recommendation. I'm like, okay. The whole time she had no intentions of doing that. God. And then there's my, my future potential boss who could just be honest with me. If you're just not going to give it to me, just tell me you're not going to give it to me.
Just tell the truth.
Don't string me along.
That's it.
Because it's emotionally draining.
Yeah.
And I am here to do the very best, and I'd like to try. But if you have no intentions, don't do that. Don't do that to somebody else.
That's it.
And he had no intentions from the beginning of doing it, but he kept saying, "Well, keep doing it, and we'll see. Keep doing it," because they didn't want me to leave. They wanted me to keep doing the job for them while they're trying to find someone else. And you know what? It's not like if he had told me from the beginning,
left.
I wouldn't have left. I've been like, okay, cool.
This sucks. Let me bust my butt harder.
And you know what was even more kind of insulting, unfortunately, is when they did make the offer and hired Eric. And again, Eric eventually told me, because I eventually moved to corporate and I was kind of, quote unquote, above him.
Yeah.
But he told me eventually, years later, that the district manager told him to be careful because he couldn't, again, based on that letter. And he goes, be careful, because when Kevin finds out that he's not the manager, he could flip out. And I'm like, why do you think I would do that? I'm not going to do that.
I really wish the district manager had gotten a better feel out of you. He failed you, period.
I was failed.
He failed you. He failed Lego. He failed you. And he even failed Kevin there.
Yeah.
He did.
Yeah, it was sad. I was a sad Hinkle.
Yeah,
I mean, these are all these things, right, that like mold you into who you are, and all these.
What doesn't kill us only makes us smellier.
Well, that too. But yeah, so that day, I mean, I ended up, continuing to run the store for another couple weeks before he started.
Yeah.
And Eric came in, and that first day he came in, it was kind of weird because he was told, "Watch out, he's gonna lose it." And I mean, I shook his hand. I remember the first thing I said to him was, he goes, "Hi, I'm Eric. I'm your new manager." And I said, "Hi, I'm Kevin. I've been running your store for the last couple months." Nice. I mean, that was like the first thing. And I said it with a little bit of sour grapes. And
hey, that's acceptable. It's acceptable. Yeah. If that's flying off the handle, good on you, Lego, for
yeah. And I didn't lose it. I didn't flip out, but
this is a very sad part in the story.
This is a sad. I'm sorry. This is a sad chapter.
We're gonna leave him like this, man. Come on.
I'm sorry, but there was some cool stuff because this was my first time to ever see corporate, so I got to see it, and I got to meet other managers. I got promoted. I'm assistant manager now.
Yes, the position that didn't exist.
Didn't
exist in the world. Kevin was the first assistant manager ever in the world.
But so this is where we're at in the story now, which is where we're going to end. Yeah. Is still in Denver. But now I'm an assistant manager of the same store. Yeah. I am very close to graduating college. Very close.
On year 4.
Yeah, this is definitely like there's probably a couple months left, and I'm done. If that. And I have a new boss. And I am kindly told to please show my new boss how to do everything. Like, this is awesome. Hey, and again, anybody who's been in any job knows the whole, hey, train this person on how to be your boss thing. Everyone's been there. Yep. And it's like, wow, that's insulting.
It is.
But things are also going to change again pretty dramatically for me soon enough after that. But this one, I would say, if we had to set a mood, this one was probably a sadder chapter.
This makes my heart hurt for Kevin.
And I was, I was sad. Like I said, I was a sad Hinkle, but I wasn't like devastated. I was still, had a family, I have a wife, I have a kid, I have college, I have all these other things going on.
Absolutely.
But I mean, yeah, I did think, oh, wow, okay, you strung me along, and I didn't know about my old boss sabotaging me. I didn't know that. I found that out years later, but I didn't know that happened. I also didn't know that my new boss was told to watch out because I could emotionally, I didn't know these things then.
That's tough.
I mean, I was just sad, and I was like, oh, all right, and I was still doing my job, but those little snippets, those little pearls that all connect this story, those weren't. I mean, they were both told to me by those people, but years and years later.
Wow.
So it's like, well, all right, I guess that it did help fill in some gaps into my story. I'm like, that's why that happened, and that's why you didn't do that. Because he did, my old district manager, he did say that was a regret. That he said I should have given you more credit. Yeah. I said, well, appreciate it. Look at that. And that, about an hour, right? We've been doing this for about an hour?
We're right there at the point. So I'm going to have to stop the ever-ranting Kevin. And let everybody know I'm Brick Smith, and this has been Forever Sorting with Kevin A. Hinkle, episode 8.
Episode 8.
The snorting.
We started with snorting.
If you guys have any questions for Kevin that maybe we haven't touched on or you haven't heard yet, or hey, whatever,
anything,
if you want to send in fan art, or
hey, if you have any crazy stories about your job, you should let us know in the comments, because everyone's got them. Everyone's got these insane. They're like, guess what happened to me? It's just it feels good to talk about them.
I've actually had poo flung on me at work, so that happened.
That's a whole episode right there.
I'm not talking about it. That's as much as you're going to get out of this old dog.
Give it the lazy eye.
Give it this old cataract right here. Anyway, I'm Brick Smith. This is Kevin A. Hinkle. We thank you.
Hello. Goodbye.
And with that being said, I'm Brick Smith. And remember,
gotta love those bricks.
I love those bricks. Bye, everybody.